Welcome back again, everyone, to Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. It's your favorite Fondcast. It's another mini special episode for you here today. I'm Cody, and today I'm talking about one of my latest obsessions. I think it's pretty fair to call it that, and that is Funko Pops, which are the about 4 to 5 inch vinyl toys that represent some of the famous, oh man, movie, television, and otherwise franchises that are out there. So it's kind of interesting story here. Just a little background on myself first. My friends that know me, my family knows I have been a collector my entire life. As a kid, I had G.I. Joes, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had baseball cards. I had Nintendo NES games at the time. Anything else you can think of. As I grew up, that did kind of go away for a little bit in college because I didn't have as much of a budget to spend on things. But even in college, you would see me collecting things still, from movie books from the Goonies movie to pieces of signed memorabilia from the 66 Batman TV show to movie posters to, various little other trinkets as well. And then once I got out of college and got into the working world, even before I was a teacher, I had some jobs in retail and other places. And as soon as I had that disposable income back in my fingertips, I began to collect again. I have the whole run of the 25th anniversary G.I. Joes that I still have in my basement. I should mention I've sold most of my collections off in the last 10 years or so, but I basically have those still. And I had things even like the episode 3 Revenge of the Sith action figures. I think I had like 62 of the 70 they put out or something like that. Just obscenely crazy. Like, it's not even a great movie, but I was collecting it. And I have this really terrible tendency to, once I start collecting things, need to have all of them. It's like a hunt and an obsession for me. And so, if there's 200 of something, I need all 200 of that thing, and I'll use various means and methods to get those things. More recently, as an adult, the thing I collected before Funko Pops probably was Marvel lead figurine collection, which was made by a company called Eagle Moss out of the UK, I believe. And they had 200 regular figures that they released over roughly 175, 200-ish months, along with, I think, 20 specials and 7 mega figures and some 2-packs, et cetera, et cetera. And there were a couple of variants of all of these things as well. And it took me about 10 years, although I really didn't collect in the like middle 6 or 7. So I kind of started and then stopped and then got back into it. But as you can guess, I had all 200 of the regular figures, all of the megas, all of the specials, all the 2-packs. It was just the variants that I had left of that. 2 of which I obtained fairly easily. One of which I ponied up a little bit of money for to buy off a guy online. And the last one was a green edition of Quicksilver, which was only released in France, and it just went for an obscene price. So I never actually got that one. And my friends will tease me about it still to this day because it's very, very unlike me. But what I did was buy a regular copy of Quicksilver and hand painted him myself to match the limited edition variant from France. As a matter of fact, if anybody were to ever, audit my collection, or when the day ever comes that I'd sell them off, if you'd look at the bottom, you'd see from the serial number. And if you were a serious collector of that property, you would see that it doesn't match the variance number. So you would know that I have a fake, quote unquote, which I do. And I fully admit that. So I have all of them except for one, which I have done myself. But anyway, that ends. I really don't have a new collection for a while. Enter Funko. Now, Funko is a store that is based out of Washington. So just a quick history trip here for you. 1998, a guy by the name of Mike Becker is a toy collector, and he originally starts this company because he's trying to find a coin bank of all things of the Big Boy restaurant mascot, Big Boy himself. Now, if you haven't been to either Elias Brothers, Big Boy, any of the clone names that the company had for various franchises, I don't know if I think that's primarily a Midwest and maybe even specifically Michigan location. But if you haven't looked up Big Boy, check him out. He's got suspenders and great big checkered shirt, and he's kind of an iconic food restaurant, icon. So he wanted a bank of this guy, couldn't find one. So he gets this great idea that he actually contacts the company and is franchised the right to get the ability to make coin banks. So he does, and they don't sell. Eventually, he is just as he's trying to basically get rid of the company, it's in bankruptcy, it goes under. He gets a license for Austin Powers. If you remember that classic movie with Mike Myers playing dual roles as Shagtastic superstar spy Austin Powers, baby. And of course, his evil mascot against him, that would be Dr. Evil, who knows everything but is just quite, well, evil. But anyway, he gets the license for that. It sells pretty well. And suddenly the company is not going out of business. They're back in business. So kind of random. I actually had a few of those bobbleheads from Austin Powers back in the day. I had no idea that were even Funko related because you wouldn't necessarily tie that to the Funko property of today. Long story short, here we have this guy selling his company off to somebody else, and they kind of open up a distribution headquarters center in Washington. And eventually, nothing really happens with it for a couple of years. But then by 2012, we have this company putting out $20 million worth of merchandise, which is pretty good turnaround from bankruptcy. And eventually they start getting retail stores where you can go and visit and shop for Funkos. And if you've ever been up near Funko today, you'll see that they have a giant retail store with like these themed areas that you can go in and check out your Funko Pop. So it's a super cool place to visit. We had taken our kids there a couple times, maybe twice, I think, because my wife's family is from that general vicinity, the suburbs to the east of Seattle. And super cool place, tons of variety. We'll talk about in a second. But eventually, the third time we went there, our kids were a little bit older. And so we said, like you can pick a souvenir from Funko. Well, each kid wanted two because they couldn't decide, so that was fine. We got them each two picked out, and then I said, "Well, I never get a souvenir when we come out here either." And so I ended up getting three. I think I got Chunk from the Goonies, Captain Kirk, and I don't even remember who the third one was, to be honest. But this was a monumentous moment in my life. Little did I know, but I kind of knew where once got one of these things, because I had resisted buying any of them for years. Once I got one of these stupid little vinyl collectibles, these little statuettes, if you will, I knew I was going to have more than one. Based on my prior collecting history, I was going to have all of them, but not all of them because that's ridiculous. So before I talk about my, fun things about Funko, just some numbers to throw out here. How this company has gone crazy now. Different websites have some different information here, anywhere from about 13,000 to about 15,000 different Funko Pops have been released. And the Funko, I should say, is the brand name. Pop is the name of that little 4 to 5 inch statuette. Some of which are bobbleheads, some of which are not. We'll talk about that in a second. And they also make different things like the sodas, which are little cans of soda you open up and there's a figure inside. They make pins now that are highly collectible, backpacks. I mean, you name it, shirts, clothing, home and office supplies. You can get almost anything with some kind of Funko Pop thing on it now. And so this was from 3 years ago. They were pulling in $686 million. $686 million. I don't know if that is the valuation of the company or if that is sales for the year. But point being here, this is just bonkers as to how many of these things there are now. So people online have these huge basements, vaults, rooms, houses, storage units full of Funko Pops. Collectors themselves come in a couple different types. So there are the people who are the hardcore collectors who only buy the most expensive ones. They buy and trade and sell only ones that are valued at a certain dollar amount or more, maybe $50 for some. Other people are $1,000, whatever the case may be. Um, then there are the people who are probably the most of the collection community, I would say, that buy them to keep them in the boxes. And then there are the people who open up their Funko Pops and put them on display. And thank God I am not the first type of person, because I made some ground rules for myself a year and a month ago, which is hard to believe I only got into this a year and a month ago. And I tell you how many I have here in a bit. But I don't need every one of them. I don't need 20 variations of Captain America, for example. I do have a few Captain Americas, maybe five, but he's my favorite Marvel guy. That's the only reason I have a couple of him. But there's probably 75 Captain Americas. I don't need 75. How many times do you need Captain America before you just have too many Captain Americas? I also am somebody who opens Funko Pops, so I've kind of created this dichotomy with the way I collect everything. And the ones I keep at the house here, we mostly open. That's like a collection the kids and I have, and we'll go through some of the lines here in a little bit. But we mostly open those unless they are worth so much money, then we do keep them in the box. And then I have a second whole collection at school in my classroom, which I actually was just in there today, putting them back out on the shelf after having them packed up for the summer. So this is fresh on my mind today. And those I all keep 100% in the boxes, and I even put plastic protectors on them just so students aren't supposed to touch them, but if they ever got their grubby little hands on them, they'd be safe. So I collect two different ways, mostly out of box at home and 100% in box at school. There is a sub community of the Funko collectors that really get into what sticker is on the front box and the little window. So, quick description, these come in little, like, almost like a shadow box where you can see through most of this packaging and you can see the Funko Pop inside. So, therefore, it's very displayable because you can see it through the package. For the most part, you can see like 90% of it, I would say, through the packaging. And the other 10% you would see, which would be like behind the cardboard if you did open it up. So, and they're probably, if you switch it on its side, you can see the name that's very prominently displayed, and they have a drawing of what the Funko looks like inside as well on the corners. And so, you can put these on their side on a shelf. You can put them facing forward so you can see the actual figure, or you can, well, however you want to stack them. Different people find different methods for these, I guess. But anyway, these come with different stickers on them if they're a specialty pop. So sometimes that's retailer specific. So like Target will get certain pops that only they get. Walmart will get certain ones. Entertainment Earth, the website online, GameStop. There's 100 different places that get surprising exclusives to Funkos, including places like Michael's, and 7-Eleven even has like Slurpee exclusive ones. So it's pretty crazy. But then on top of that, you get these like really limited edition ones from Comic Cons and different festivals they have. And these stickers can make the things go for considerably more or less. If you buy one that has, like a limited edition San Diego Comic Con 2022, for example, just happened. And those Funko Pops with that sticker 5 years from now might be worth more than the same pop. Now, keep in mind, this is the same exact piece of plastic, just with one different sticker on the box, that you might get at an FYE, for example, or maybe a Barnes and Noble, which will have the same pop but a different sticker. Instead of the San Diego Comic Con, it'll say Barnes and Noble exclusive because they were like the supporting company for that pop. And the one might be worth $500 3 years down the road, and the other one might be worth $20 3 years down the road. So some people go crazy over this, and I get into fights with people online all the time because I am a non-sticker collector. I don't really care what the sticker says on them. Other people get way bent out of shape about this and won't trade with you or buy with you or sell to you, yada yada, because you have the wrong sticker on it. I don't know why it matters. It's a little piece of plastic. It's not even the cool piece of plastic, which is in the box itself. So that's a little bit about the community behind Funko Pops. You can find these, as I said, in many stores around you at this point, including even pop stores that'll pop up from time to time. I just visited two this past week just because the kids and I go on a road trip. I usually stop to look. I've seen many of the stores in Indiana and Wisconsin and Michigan and Illinois and Seattle out by that area in Washington as well. So in general, we have stopped in a lot of these places. My kids are still big on this, luckily, a year later, like myself. So they kind of are into it still, which makes it a lot more fun to do with them because if this was, just a weird dad hobby, which I'm sure they probably think it is a little bit, but um, I enjoy that they still enjoy it with me. So that means a lot to me. Okay, last one I want to go over here is the most expensive pop. This is on a couple different websites here, but the most expensive one released, it says, is the Alex DeLarge Clockwork Orange Funko, which is a glow in the dark edition and is what they call a chase. Now, the chase, if you're a collector of different things, means they might make 11 Falcons and one glow in the dark Falcon, or they might have, like 8 Ross from Friends in one box, but there will be a ninth one that has a different shirt on or something small, but enough to make it noticeably different when you were to look at them compared to each other. So the top one here is this Clockwork Orange Funko Pop. And this says it regularly sells about $13,000 for that one. We have some other highly ranked ones up here. Some Dumbo from Disney. Dumbo as the clown edition is about 7,000. We have some Stanleys that are worth 6,000. We have some Freddy Funko is their mascot of the Funko company, and they like to put out these very limited releases of him dressed as other characters. So we have like Buzz Lightyear Freddy Funko, which is about 5,000. Frankenberry from the cereal Freddy Funko sells for about 5,600. And then we have even Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones, Freddy Funko, with the bloody edition, of course. And this looks like it was from a Comic-Con back in 2012 or 13. I can't quite. 2013, San Diego Comic-Con, $9,000. So these are very, very expensive, but also worth a lot if you happen to have any of these. Many of the ones that are worth a ton, you probably wouldn't just have sitting around, you know, your basement because you wouldn't have bought them randomly because they are very hard to obtain. Sometimes they have random drawings for some of this stuff. Anyway, so Funko as a company has expanded. Based out of Everett, Washington. That's where it has the fun little store you can go to check out. They also have a Funko Hollywood now, where you can go in and I should say also, before COVID, you could go in and actually customize and make your own Funko, which was really cool. You could pick the arms and the legs and the accessories or the hat or the beard or the eyes or weapons it might have or whatever the case is. Boston did one of those actually before. He made like this bird villain that has like dynamite and other stuff with him. So he has a customized one. You can also order on their website and get actual Funko Pops that look like you. I believe they're like $200 though. They're not cheap. And I'm looking here. It says they also have expanded Funko to Burbank, California, London, Colorado, Arkansas, Funko Bentonville, of all places, the Walmart headquarters, and then Funko Minneapolis, which I didn't know, but I guess that would be the closest one to me. So there's those. All right, now the appeal of Funkos. I know a lot of people that collect these things. Sometimes I'm surprised even when I happen to mention it and they're like, "Oh, I have some of those too." And I'm like, "Really?" One of the reasons this is such a successful product is that there has never, and I haven't fact checked this, but I'm gonna willing to stake my reputation on this anyway. There has never been a company prior to Funko that has had as many licenses as they do. And what I mean by that is if you walk into your typical Walmart, your typical Target or whatever, and you look at the Funko shelves, there is literally something for everyone. If you want to collect, I'm just trying to think. I did the rounds this past when was that? It was just yesterday. I went for like 3 hours. I went shopping around town, and I probably hit like 9 places that carry Funkos, I believe. I got like Target, a GameStop, an FYE, a Books A Million, a Hot Topic, I can't even think of all the places I went to, but it was a lot. Okay, so if you're into the Golden Girls, they have Funkos for that. If you are into Marvel, they have Funkos for that. If you're into Riverdale, the TV show, you guessed it, Funkos for that. Harry Potter, check. Star Wars, of course. They have both DC and Marvel, which is also rare sometimes for companies to have the licenses to both. If you're into NASCAR or baseball or basketball or hockey or famous authors or presidents or celebrities or anybody from the music world whatsoever, TV shows, they have one for more TV shows than you could possibly imagine. Movies, they're getting there. Truly, what astounds me the most about this company is that I'm like, that they have nothing left that they can possibly dig out that we haven't seen yet at this point. And then the next time you'll go to the store, and sure enough, they have a line from Starship Troopers and Legally Blonde and His Dark Materials, and they just find more and more and more and more and more properties, IPs, intellectual properties to put out onto the Funko Pops, which is crazy because you think they would be running out. And they do recycle some, like they'll come up with a new version of, Star Trek. They had one like 7 years ago, and now they have a new one they released last year, which has a few different characters than the first one and updated versions of the rest. So sometimes they go that route and just trick people into buying more of them, I guess, but it's highly addicting. Now, when I started collecting mine, I made a few rules. Primarily, I wanted to collect only the Marvel universe, or that's what I wanted to collect the most, I guess, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies, in other words, and TV shows specifically. And so I made a rule with my kids, and I guess to a lesser extent my wife, that I would only collect one of each. And I've done a pretty good job holding to that. There's a few characters we have, like I said, Captain America. I think we might have 2 Iron Mans. If a character undergoes like a severe physical appearance change, like the Vision and Vision look completely different, so we have one of each of those. Um, I'm trying to think beyond that who else would fit into that category. But anyway, with as many Marvel movies, and if you listen to our podcast, that's a lot, 29 we just ranked, or TV shows, which they're at like 7 or 8 at this point after Ms. Marvel here. It's a million characters already that they have, and so my goal is to get one of each. To the best of my knowledge, and I can't find a better person that has this checklist than myself, so I actually share this with people sometimes in Facebook groups. Once the current TV shows are done, there will be 182 individual characters from the MCU that will have had their own Funko Pop. Now, most of those have had variants more than one of, but 182, and that's give or take because, do you count Peter Parker as separate than Spider-Man? Maybe. What about Tony Stark and Iron Man? Maybe. So it gets a little tricky, but 182. Besides that, I also have, well, I don't have all 182, I should say. I'm probably missing about 25 of those, some of which are just not out yet, and some of which are just ridiculously expensive. Example, I can give you like Stonekeeper from Endgame and Infinity War, the guy who had the Soul Stone, Red Skull, his ghost. They made one of him. It was an exclusive, sells for like $90. I just haven't wanted to pay that yet, so I don't have that one yet. Eventually, someday, maybe. Okoye from Black Panther is another good one. There's 2 of her. One sells for like 45. One sells for 70. I prefer the way the 71 looks, but I'm not going to buy it because there's a new Black Panther movie coming out in November, and I'm just going to pick up the $12 one instead of either of those because I'm not that picky. I just wanted something that would represent the widest breadth of the Marvel universe as I could find, and I determined it was the Funko Pop line. That's what got me into this finally. Other smaller collections we have the 6 characters from Clue, which I love, the board game and the movie both. These are based on the board game iterations. We have characters from the Goonies, although they are missing like about half of the cast, I would say. So there's that. We have all of the pops that have been released for characters in The Mandalorian because we love that, and the Book of Boba Fett, I think we have all of the ones from, which is really kind of a lot of carryover from The Mandalorian. Besides that, I have some of the Batman 66 ones, old favorite TV show of mine, and I have G.I. Joe. I have just about all of the G.I. Joe ones as well. My kids also have a line of Pokemon, but they have like six, I would say. And then we have a random shelf with just like random characters from X-Men and Deadpool and Sonic and other things that they have as also have 4 of the Stan Lees. I was actually trying to get all of the Stan Lees. Maybe I'll go back to that at some point. So that's the ones we have at home. We have 5 giant shelves, almost, I wouldn't say full, but almost full with some spice racks. We put them on to display them so we can get 3 in a tier, so 12 on a spice rack. And beyond that, at school, I have a huge collection now of music pops, and I have a couple sports athletes. I have a lot of the military pops that came out, frontline heroes, surgeons. I have authors collection. I have good chunk of iconic American symbols and presidents. So really quite a bit, and a lot of music ones really at school though. So at school, I do a pop of the week where I will put them on a little pedestal, and then if there is music that ties to it, we'll do that music for our intro songs every day. Otherwise, we just kind of have it as something that ties in with what's going on in the world, or maybe a certain month, or whatever the case is. But it's a fun way the kids get into it quite a bit, seeing my collections and wondering who the pop of the week is, and especially because I teach mostly freshmen, they really get into it also. So that's always been kind of fun. But yeah, so that's kind of Funko Pops in a nutshell. They're just highly addictive, and some people have a Harry Potter collection, like the librarian at school. Shout out to Miss Fairless. Other people have random musicians that they love, or a TV show that they particularly care for, Seinfeld or whatever the case is. But they make it for so many things, and it's just crazy because I will even see, like, at a secondhand store, a resale store, a pop that I've never even seen one from that series of still, which is crazy. But I basically have mastered this down now where if I go into stores and look at them like a retail store, they're almost assuredly not going to have anything I need. Maybe I'll find something one out of every 5 or 6 times because I've decimated the Marvel universe, Thanos style, and the rest of the ones I'm just pretty much caught up on. So I have a lot of pre-orders in right now for stuff months and months and months down the road. So that'll make it even harder to find anything actually at retail when that day comes. So anyway, I guess I'll leave you with some more statistics here today. So our collection, and this is an approximation because sometimes I don't remember to log all these when I should. We have about 330 Funko Pops, and that's after about 380 390 days of collection, so that's almost one a day, so that's not great. But quite a few, and it says our collection is currently valued at about $6,100, which is not really that accurate either because we have so many that are out of the box that would theoretically lower the value on all those, and some of the ones we have logged don't have a value yet, so push comes to shove, it wouldn't be worth that much, but we also didn't pay that much. I mostly bought a lot of these at the beginning with sales on eBay, and I use my Amazon points on these. Not every month, but quite often. If I get $100 in Amazon points, I might order $40 or $60 worth of Funkos out of that $100 that I have on there to spend. So anyway, Funko Pops, yeah, and the Funko Company, they're providing your childhood and adulthood collectible needs and have been doing so for, well over a decade now, I guess. If you go back about 14-ish, no, it'll be longer than that. 14-ish years they've been rolling hard, though, let's say. And I kind of thought this would slow down, but they continue to grow. They are now a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. You can buy stock in Funko, which is pretty crazy. So, anyway, just thought it'd be fun to pop off on the Funkos tonight and give you a little behind the scenes on my collecting habits, and that's about it, I guess. So it's going to be Wednesday here when this drops on Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. We're gearing up for one last vacation here with the family. We're going back to Michigan again. And then when we get back on Monday, it'll be 1 week until school starts. Oh, dear God. Anyway, all right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time on Friends. And we're occasionally not disagreeing. Yeah. All right. Take care, people. We'll see you. Help us. Share, like, follow, spread our word. Bond.